can we define political
Speaker, the
expansionism?
progress towards deep
So
global
political
integration
expansionism
had
means
so
that
far
China
only
is
benefited the elite.
So, hello, Mr. Adli. Welcome to the Beyond 7 Minutes podcast. I'm Simrit, and I'm going to be the host for today's topic, which is autism awareness, building systems to assist autism. So, a little bit of background for our audience who will be watching this later. Mr. Adli Yahya is actually the founder and owner of Autism Cafe Project. And Mr. Adli himself is the father of Lukman, who is an autistic child. And Mr. Adli has been very active in raising awareness among parents about autistic children. And the soft opening for Mr. Adli's Autism Cafe project was actually supported by the Takaful and the National Autism Society in Malaysia. And the Autism Cafe project is a cafe that also provides catering services while focuses on training the participants as entrepreneurs. So, Mr. Adli, I think before we get into the meat of our discussion today and the questions that we're so excited to ask you, I think we should maybe just push off some of the myths that we have about autism. First thing is, there's this common misconception that autism is a result of bad parenting or vaccination. People or children with autism are very aggressive. They don't know how to show affection, and there's just this stigma over children with autism and how their behavior can be so misunderstood within society. So first and foremost, on behalf of IUM, we would like to congratulate you on the opening of your Autism Cafe.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
So it's so interesting. What was your motivation to work on opening the cafe in the first place?
Well, to be honest with you, why I started this project is basically because of my son. My son, Muhammad Lukman, he's 22 today, in fact. His birthday today. So he was I would say, the main reason why I launched this project. Every parent's worried about their son or their kids, What more us, we have a special needs child who, like it or not, he or she will depend on us to have a good future, a better life, So what choice do I have? I don't have any choice but to do it on my own. I don't really see that he's able to live his life to the fullest if I don't provide him the opportunity, So thus, I set up this cafe is basically for him to be able to lead his life to the fullest. And as I always mention, the component of living life to the fullest, one of it is actually able to lead your own life, able to earn your own living, So that's what Lukman is the one that motivates me to set up this project, basically.
So I think on behalf of, us, IIUM, we would like to wish Lukman a happy birthday. So in your 4 years of leading up to opening the cafe in USJ, what were some of the challenges that you faced, especially when the pandemic hit?
I would be lying if I'm not saying the biggest challenge is, we were practically flogged down during the pandemic, because of the CMCO and MCO staff, there was no visitors to our cafe. Practically 3 months we were drained. We didn't get a cent during that particular 3 months. And the fact that it also had a big effect on our boys and our family members of autism. When autistic person, they have a very structured daily routine. You wake up, you have your bath, you go to work, you rest. It's specific. It's very specific. It's like cast in stone in a manner. So when you change that pattern, it affects them badly. And also to the fact that they are not earning, it put their self-esteem to the lower end. Because there's nothing that they can do. Normally they earn about 1,000 to 1,400 a month, and suddenly zero. So that puts stress on them. Now you have to think, we can handle stress. For whatever reason, we are able to handle stress that coming towards us. For them, not all basically, but I would say generally, they are having difficulties in handling stress. So thus, there will be a huge meltdown. There will be huge, angry moments in the family, and we have one of our boys. I won't name, but he actually tried to commit suicide because the stress and the changing of the pattern that he used to is totally changed. He couldn't handle that, So I guess it affects him badly. He was in ICU for 5 days, and moving on, he was in psychiatry unit, and now he's getting better because the routine is back to normal now. So the implication is not just financially, psychologically, it's to the boys, And that's the bad point, the minus point. But the good point, it also forces to think differently, to think creatively. We have zero income, so what's next? We can't just lie down, and wait for a ringgit or dollar coming towards our side. So it forces us to think differently. So on that particular section, I think it's good on us. We don't like those kind of challenges. COVID challenges are nothing pleasant, but it kind of bring the positive side of it. As I said, it forces us to think differently, and we change our business model. And it is, since we can't do, there's no more get together, there's no more event, you can't do that. So we switch to delivery side. We actually close our cafe, and we just do deliveries. So it helps at certain point. It helps. Slowly we gain our our revenue up slightly, and the boys are happier, as well as the girl, and when the second COVID came in, it really hurts us again, But I think all in all, we have managed to diversify our portfolio and our business model. We have managed to survive during that particular period. I'm happy on that, yeah.
So I think, Mr. Adli, I'm sure a situation like that would be hard on anyone, but I think if it's okay for you to answer within your capacity, how did you mentally deal with the situation, considering the fact that you had to be there mentally strong for your sons, but you yourself, I'm sure that you were very, you hit very hard by the challenges. So what kind of mindset did you had to go into in order to bring your family, make them feel secured?
I live this. I believe this. I always believe this. When God gives something to you, there's always a reason, at least one reason, or many reasons for that matter, There's always a reason behind it. I've learned a lot from my journey with Luqman, He opens up a lot of things that I couldn't see last time, So one of the as I said, one of the items that he forced me to look at differently is, as I said, everything happens for a reason, at least, So with pandemic, I thought it was a blessing in disguise in a way, We last time we were working, and it's like work and work and work, And suddenly you have 3 months or more than 6 months, I think. You have a time on your own. So that cultivates a lot of positive father and son bonding, and it forces me also to think on how we should manage this project properly, since this is something coming in unexpectedly, really unexpectedly, So what must I do? The thing is, I can't give up. There's no way I can, because the project as well as the boys depend on me. I have to be, as he said, I have to be mentally strong, and the fact that, the word redha, it's the key to me. I redha everything, What God gave to me, I learn from my lesson and I move forward. There's no point of you, whining why this is happening to me. There's no point, Just remember, you have to redha whatever God gave to you, and you move on from them. There's always a reason behind it. There's always at least one reason. So you got to accept and move on. So I guess, having said that, that is actually the pillar for me, that the thing that I've learned with Luqman, and it kept me moving forward. Yeah.
I think that's an incredible mindset to cultivate, even among students and anyone, just the mindset to accept what you have and learn to power through it and work.
This is Simraj. I always tell my daughter and son. My daughter was in university UIA too. He's doing engineering, So I told her, you work hard. You work hard. You don't deny. You have to work hard. There's no choice. You have to work out. God don't give you something just suddenly appears in front of you. It doesn't work that way. But if you work hard and still you fail, redha. There must be a reason behind it. Don't deny failure. When you learn that, when you learn your failure, it's actually spur you to do something better. It actually opens up a new door for you to move on, So redha is the key to me, That's what I learned from Luqman. Yeah.
That's very touching. So a little bit about Luqman. Does he enjoy working at the cafe? How have you, as a father, seen his character? How has it developed? Does he enjoy working there? It's interesting.
Okay. With Luqman, with Luqman, it's very personal. It's always very personal, and sometimes I hesitate to tell, because it's so personal and private to us, It's me and my son, that's all. But I guess if I don't tell, you won't know, you won't learn, So I guess that's the point, I redha, and I will tell you on that, So just to give you an idea, Luqman, when we sent him to school those days, I think I sent him to school for 3 years, and there's no result. The learning over at school doesn't give him anything. The education doesn't give him anything. I'm not saying 100%, probably 10%, the most. There's nothing coming back from him, when he finishes school. So I thought there's something wrong with this, So I went and do spot check, me being result getter, I'll do spot check, I crawl, I hide behind the bin, I open up the door slowly, the window slowly, and I found out that the learning structure over there doesn't suit Luqman. I have to admit, it is not the teacher's fault. It is not the school fault. It's not. They have a limited numbers of teachers, and I guess teachers doesn't have certain experience to handle kids. My presumption is that, So when they group Luqman together with high functioning, and he is the lower functioning, so how can you teach them? It doesn't make sense, So I took him out, and the timing was very nice. I guess this is God's blessing, and I put him in the cafe. And when he is in the cafe, it was leaps and bounds. You can practically see the difference. He is a different person. He is much of a visual person. He learns visually. When you tell him, when you go to school, you look at the blackboard, we call it blackboard those days. What do you call it nowadays? Green board?
Whiteboard.
We call it blackboard. We use chalk and stuff, So it doesn't really connect to him. But he is, as I said, he's very much visual. But when he is at the cafe, you can see there's a huge difference after that. Being able to last time not being able to understand, now being able to understand, be able to carry out instruction, as opposed before it was zero. And the fact that I went great length to make sure he learned, because I knew my son. Practically, I knew my son, so I knew what to do with him. In fact, when we went to the cafe those days, 4 years back in Puchong, the easy way for me is to have him in the car, sitting next to me, and I drive. It'll take us 10 to 15 minutes. But I didn't do that. I walked from my house about 400 meters from the house to the LRT station. We took LRT. And once we arrived at the Puchong there, we walk. And coming home, we walk. We took the bus and we walk, And at one point, I was testing him whether he's able to comprehend the structure that we're doing. You have to, take the lift. You have to buy the tickets. You have to swipe the ticket. You have to take the tickets, And I let him do by himself. And he walked from the station right to the cafe, all by his own. And I found out now, the school, the world is his school. The school doesn't fit him, but the world fit him. So you can see it's when you learn that the knowledge is not just confined in the school. The world is abundant of knowledge that you can find, provided you have to be smart on how you move from there, So he learns. So sometimes I felt like, shouting to the world, look at my son, he's managed to pack a pack of nasi lemak. Can you imagine? I was so proud of him. Nasi lemak, you have components of cucumber, you have a component of peanuts, anchovies, sambal, But to them, they don't understand the concept of nasi lemak. So nasi lemak doesn't mean anything to them. And one fine day, I was at the Park City. I always give the simple example. I was talking to a client, and a customer came in and asking me a packet of nasi lemak. We sell a breakfast sale over there. So I said, it's just blurred from my mouth. I said, Lokman, please prepare a pack of nasi lemak. And I keep on continuing talking to my customer. And once done, I just turned around and I saw a packet of nasi lemak neatly in the packet. How does it make me feel? I'm on top of the world. Really, I am. So as I said again, the learning structure in school doesn't fit him, but the world fits him. So, and the cafe fit in nicely. He loves water. We get him to wash the dishes, to mop the floor. He loves cleanliness, He loves cleanliness to the point that, and he loves neatness, to the point that, when you have a paper lying on the floor, you just crumple it up and you throw it in the dustbin, right? He wouldn't do that. He will take the crumpled paper and put it nicely, flatten it up nicely, and put in the garbage bin neatly. So you have the cleanest garbage in the whole world. The neatest. So the thing is this, as I said again, the school doesn't fit him, but the world fit him. The learning environment, so you got to, I guess the parents need to be creative and need to be attentive of what are their abilities, And in the case of Lukman, visual, his learning key is visual. So you got to move from there. And as I said, I'm so glad we set up this cafe, and he has improved in leaps and bounds. And I'm so syukur pada Allah lah. Syukur pada Allah. Yeah.
So, Mr. Adli, we've heard that Lokman, because naturally there's just so much stigma surrounding, children with autism, right? So how did, have you ever faced this form of social stigma towards your son's conditions, and how did you feel during that time that people were confining Lokman to a certain set of, characteristics based on what society thinks?
Sorry, yeah. Can you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
So essentially, I was just asking that, we have seen that Lokman can function in the world, and he is, he's practically like a normal person, right? But because of the social stigma that is attached to autism, right? Have you ever faced social stigma due to your son's condition, and how did you feel during that experience? If you are comfortable with answering the question, of course.
Give you one example so it would be less burden to me, personally. Okay, that's one case, yeah. I can't blame the public. Those days, you have to bear in mind, 21 years ago, the scenario is entirely different. The knowledge wasn't there. In fact, when we approached a couple of doctors were what is wrong with him? There's and few doctors, not many, I think one or two, was like, what is wrong with him? What is wrong with him? It doesn't really register an autism word to them. So imagine that. And so the knowledge was not as that. In fact, internet was not available during those days. So can you imagine? Anyway, we went to McDonald's last time. That was before the diet, because I introduced gluten-free, casein-free diet to Luqman. That was before the diet thing, And Luqman has, if he saw something, he likes it, he will grab it. Doesn't matter, it's yours or you're holding it or you're eating it, he will grab. It's something that you can't explain why. We're trying very hard to confine him not to be sitting next to others, but once in a while it happens, they were smart. He was really smart, when there's always an avenue for him to, if we put a confined space to him, he'll find ways to go out of the confined space, So what happened at the McDonald's was, he was waiting for his ice cream. And apparently he saw the table next door, the boy next door is holding the ice cream. He just plucked it from his hand and took it, And and their parents was really something, But I can't blame them, We have been called F word, bad parents, kurang hajar, gila, all kinds of names, But then again, I rest to the fact that they don't understand. As simple as that, If they would have understand, I think now is much better. Apparently, what I did with Luqman was I got him to wear, every time we went out, I got him to wear a autism symbol, which is the jigsaw puzzle, or at least a cap that has a jigsaw puzzle, at least. And he's been wearing that particular T-shirt for ages already, But that is something that I think I have to do just to make sure that people understand. So when, majority of people that we went across nowadays, when he saw Luqman, for the fact that he's quite well known now, and they kind of understand. But those days was very difficult because they don't understand. And when they say names to you, it is very hurtful. You have burden on your shoulder you've been carrying all this while, and I don't need additional burden. So when people say to us we are bad parents, kurang hajar, whatnot, it really hurts. It really hurts, to the point that, that sometimes it's so hurtful, you wanted to just cry, At one point, I can tell you another story, we, again, I can't blame the person who did this, There's one couple that came to our place, and they got to know Luqman is within that ASD thingy, And the moment Luqman sit next to them, it's like a disease sitting next to them. You don't have to tell. Your body language will tell us, and your look will tell. It was like disgusting look, I couldn't do much. I just took my wife. I just took Luqman. We went upstairs and we kept quiet. I can't. So that was very hurtful. So I guess that's the two incidents that I can tell you. It affected us quite heavily, especially as the later one. But then again, as I said, we can't blame them because they don't know. So it's pointless getting angry. But the frustration is, as I said, to the point that we just the three of us, we just kept quiet. We can't do much. And the guest left. Yeah.
And, I think this is why actually we, as a community of young people or whatever, from IIUM, we try, this is sort of our effort, to push away the stigma. And we hope that, whoever is listening to this recording or to this podcast later on really understands what do parents go through and not make it, even harder for them by being not polite individuals.
And Simraj, the thing is, you forgot, individuals with autism, they have feelings too.
Yes,
as much as you said something and they just ignore you, please don't discount that they don't have any feelings. They have feelings. They are hurt too, but they can't express themselves. My son is a classical case. You give him, but once in a while when he responded, it's like you found a pot of gold, kind of thing, But, he has feeling. When you say something bad to him, please, you got to understand, he understands. So especially when I talk about our journey, when I bring him along to the talks and we talk about our journey, I always ask his permission first. Lukman, can Abah talk about you and all? I always, regardless, he has no expression on that, regardless, he understands, respect them as a person. They have feelings too. Yeah.
So, Encik Adli, to just a few final questions before we close up the discussion. We have discussed, the stigma that is surrounding autism and, of course, your journey with the cafe. So, as a parent, who has sent your child to public school and found that didn't work. So what do you think should be the government's plan to build a better community, to cater towards autistic people, to ensure that they get the proper education that they deserve? Or any other facilities that you think the government should prioritize?
I think this. I might be wrong because I don't know much about government system here, but I felt that the numbers of teachers at the school which cater for individual with special needs to be increased. One, and the quality that the teacher being produced must be risen. It must be must be better must be better. And I think also the government needs to understand. I'm not quite sure whether they don't understand or they do understand or they don't. I don't know. But I felt this. Please, if you're looking at the community of autism, each individual are different. And once you have that difference, it's difficult to group them into one group to teach, because they have different characters and different needs, So I would suggest this, for a proper maximizing the school benefits the kids, Probably what we can do, because we have constraint in numbers of teachers, probably what you can do is to have the teacher learn and be more attentive in grouping the individuals, rather than you group, autism, there must be kind of a similarity in one individual to another. So you need to group that similarity together, those who are slow learner, you got to group them together. Those who are high functioning, you got to group them together. I felt that, if you move on that manner, I think the system will be good. And also, I would say this, education is not about academic. It's not all about academic. It's not all about A, B, C, D and D, E, F, for that matter. It's not that. knowledge is more than that. Education is more than that. As I said, I decided Lukman doesn't fit into academic category. We tried and it doesn't work for him. So we switched to learning skill, living skill. So that's where he's excelling, He excelled in that area. So we don't. So I guess what I saw in school, it's more stressful. They stress more on, you have to learn ABC, you have to learn multiple 1, 2, 3, To me, that's important. But for me, to Lukman, it does not. It does not. Because we tried and it doesn't work. So probably on that manner, to actually divided the grouping into those who are able to make it academically and those who are not able to. Probably that manner. I don't know.
I think personally, I think that would be the most efficient way to ensure that children who are autistic will not be then sort of pushed away from the education system.
You know what? We saw a case that one parent sent the boy to school. Her persistence is you must able to learn to read. And I knew when I saw a couple of times the boy at school. I knew he wouldn't, because it's a similar character as Lukman. We tried, it didn't work. So you can see the parents the mother is really gung ho on getting him to read and all. No? I'm not saying it's bad, it's good, but I think you should know your son very well, what he is capable of. And you know what? It put a stress on the boy. He couldn't, and you force him to. It could be, it could be positive. Let's say it's positive, then it's good. But I think on the bigger side, it will be a negative effect on him. I might be wrong. That I'm not a therapist, and nor am I a doctor. I just speaking from my thoughts as a parent
Yeah, because I could definitely see why, because then he would think that it could affect his self-esteem and whatnot. It would make him feel different, and that's not something that we want.
In one case, I would like to highlight this. Please don't. Everybody is unique. You are unique. They are unique. You can't generalize everybody as the same person. We are unique individually. Sometimes I felt that sometimes parents wants they want their kids to be normal as others, and they force the teacher to bring them to the mainstream. The implication is when they are not ready, you push him there and you put him somewhere he didn't like. That's where tantrums came in. That's where meltdown came in. He couldn't express and you force him to do that, then the repercussion will be very, very bad to them. So I guess you don't push them, you don't push them. I guess the best is to listen to the teachers, and I guess it's sort of parents' intuition, parents' intuition. If you think your voice is not ready, please don't. Because you'll be hurting him as well as you'll be hurting yourself. You have the expectation of when he's in this group, he's able to function as normal as we are. But then again, the result is not that, and you get upset. So what's the point?
I think I hope that through this conversation that our audiences they realize how the situation of autism needs to be treated in Malaysia, and how there needs to be more awareness in Malaysia and more empathy towards parents and who have children with autism. Unfortunately, Mr. Adli, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
It was a very heartfelt conversation, and I wish we could have you here longer and keep asking you, because it's so interesting. But it's we just feel that this situation needs to be talked about, and there needs to be more empathy surrounding it. So thank you so much, and thank you to all of our audience who will be tuning in later on. And don't forget to visit the Autism Cafe project whenever you can at USJ.
And you guys must come over.
Yes, for sure. We'll definitely pay a visit one day. So thank you so much.
You're
Mr.
most
Adli.
welcome. You're most
Yes.
welcome. All right.